right.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Where are we today? We are back. It's a Thursday. And today we're here to discuss how recognition and appreciation and dare say gratitude are all parts of sales strategy. So, although we're talking about sales culture today and recognition and talent retention, I promise you this has to do with customer retention as well. And, I don't have the exact stats for the externals, but internally, 79% of reps cite the lack of recognition as the reason that they are leaving. If you're not building systems to celebrate wins, support your people, you're inviting churn. And I bet you that is every seat, not just sales seats.
Yep.
But in our conversation today, we are going to unpack how authentic, consistent recognition, how to put it into your culture, how to get your people to stay loyal and engaged by appreciating them. And also why ad hoc praise doesn't work, how to put in systems that structure recognition, and some really interesting stuff about that. I'd go back to the marshmallow test and anything Danny Ariely's ever written. But really how to build appreciation in your one-on-ones, in your team meetings, how to put it right into your CRM, and also how to avoid fake praise, because that isn't supportive. It actually undermines things. So yeah, let's start digging into this stuff. This feels like a very human episode.
Fake praise. Fake praise.
Rob, I love what you've done with your hair.
Yeah. One I heard at one of my prior employers, who shall remain nameless. I worked for a guy who used to tell me, you're too smart for your own good. Now, you might think that's praise, but that's not praise. That's insecurity on his part, right? He's ha, 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 I'm threatened by you. Shut your mouth. That's what that means. So sometimes it sounds like praise, but it's really not. It's just insecurity by, an unethical, insecure boss.
Right.
So these things happen. You might think you're being praiseful or giving positive feedback, but you're actually not. The best among you will see right through it.
So let's dig into that for a moment, because that was a personal experience.
Right.
So that happens on the surface, and then, for you, what went on underneath that? What happened with the inside voice?
I questioned why he was threatening me. Right?
Okay.
That's a veiled threat.
Got it.
I should be dumb or what? Right? You want me to play to your level of idiocracy? You want me to dumb it down to avoid what threat, right? It's a veiled passive aggressive threat from an insecure person.
There's two things going on for me then. One of them is a lowering, right? Do less, try less, work. There's some sort of like less than command in there almost. And then what's the other piece? Like once there's a threat attached, how does that make you feel at work, or what does that start making you think about?
Oh, filing an ethics complaint. All right.
Okay.
That's you're on the verge of a hostile work environment.
Okay. So there's a reaction to start with.
Yeah.
Did you start thinking about anything else? Like, I don't belong here, maybe I should leave, like any of that stuff too, or did that come later?
No, that's all at the same time. Like, oh, what a terrible decision I made 3 months ago when I decided to say yes and accept this job.
Got it.
What the hell am I going to do about this? Now I'm stuck here.
Okay.
I can't believe I agreed to, for 6 months, live 3 weeks out of the month in St. Louis.
Right.
right, for this to be treated this way and talked to like this and work for these kind of unethical people.
Okay, great. So that's a whole mess of inside voice conversations.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Yep.
So this almost touches on some of the stuff we were talking about last session about culture. And, you know, we did a deep dive the other day, not live, about fit.
Yeah.
So what would you say starts to happen now generally when somebody does do that? They take the risk. I mean, the business is there. It is wherever it is. We know how hard it is to move one of those. So you move a person into it. In your case, you make them change locations, and then shortly thereafter, they're basically told, you don't belong here. Right? What goes on next?
Well, typically their performance will decline, or if they're smart, they'll begin documenting an email exactly what's happening, right? Because evidence gathering should begin immediately thereafter.
Okay.
So you should send your boss an email like, thank you so much for telling me I was too smart for my own good. I really appreciate that feedback. And if you could make that constructive and let me know what good looks like, I would really appreciate that too. And then you have it in writing. So then after the fact, if you need it, it's on the email server.
Beautiful. Right? Beautiful. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
That's what I would do differently.
So let's start working in the opposite direction. Right? The goal of today's topic is to be like positive about this. We know what not to do.
Right.
What should be done instead?
Right. What does good look like?
Yeah.
It should maybe sound something like, that's an absolutely brilliant idea. I think we might need to take a stepped approach. You're dreaming of an incredibly beautiful, awesome thing, right? I love how smart you are. If we broke that down into steps and we made it a 3-step to get there, what would step 1 look like?
Okay.
Right? So that's constructive, validating appreciation that doesn't scream of insecurity, right?
Got it. Got it. And much so better. now you're feeling recognition.
Right. And you feel valued, and they appreciate, step 1. Oh, let me think on that. Now we're collaborating, right? And my engagement's going up. Like,
right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's all the outcomes you want.
Right. So clearly this wasn't Toyota, because Kaizen isn't part of the company culture. But in a case where it is, where feedback is welcomed, where they say from the top or the middle, everyone, if you have an idea, please bring it here.
Oh.
How does that stuff actually work?
Oh, you know, in Star Wars, when the Admiral's standing at the strategy board and he's yelling, it's a trap, it's a trap.
Right.
All too often it is a trap, because they say that and then they don't mean it. And you'll put something up there that's constructively critical, like feature for feature comparison relative to the competition. Our pricing might be a smidge out of alignment with our competitive placement in the marketplace, right? Yeah. That might be what you've determined and what you've seen at trade shows. It might be factually true, but if you're not the head of marketing, be careful about writing something like that down, right? Because they're going to say, you need to be careful about what you write down. Oh, so you don't take constructive feedback.
Right.
So we don't have psychological safety here. So we punish rather than recognize and appreciate and accept, right? So instead of doing that, let's talk about the good. Brilliant idea. I'd love to sit down with you and help you understand exactly why we're priced the way we are relative to the competition. It's a little bit deeper than your analysis. Oh, that's validating.
Right.
Right.
Right. So there's a culture, which again, it's touching on that point, like ad hoc praise isn't enough, right? There needs to be a culture that not only asks for it, but supports it.
Yes.
And then there needs to be systems in place, both, I think, for ideas to be brought in or other things to be recognized. Right? We haven't gone past ideas yet and into performance, into effort, into going the extra mile, into saving the day, into helping each other. Like there's so many other places that things like this can be encouraged if it's part of the culture of the organization.
Right.
But then the question is, where's the structure that you use those really important words, right? Like the psychological safety net.
There's so many people hate the structure because it creates an objective truth that's makes it hard for them to play their biased game, right?
Okay.
That's part of why I love, like, I've implemented recognition structures at multiple companies, and one of my favorites, at the beginning of the month, we gave every team member $5.
Right.
And they had to give it away, right? There was an expiration date on those $5.
Right.
So they felt some urgency to recognize other people. They could give away $1 to $5. It wasn't a boatload of money, but it's enough that it's any money to trigger some dopamine, right?
Right.
Some dopamine, right? So what we started to see over time is you would see people's balances start to go up because they were getting recognition from a lot of different people.
Right.
So it's $1 100 times is $100. But then you'd also see people were giving out a lot of recognition. So
Right.
the better report to look at, rather than who has the greatest balance, is who has the greatest aggregated cash flow.
Beautiful.
Because that's the positive force in the organization.
Beautiful.
Right?
So if we leave that stuff for a minute and get more, I guess, visionary, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how deep this goes, but what I've learned is all the crazy stuff that we're now incredibly dependent on was part of Google's 20% time policy. So what do you imagine were the benchmarks of recognition along the way to Google Maps being released to the public? What were the benchmarks along the way for Gmail to be released to the public? Right? Because these things started out as somebody just whittling away on their spare time going, I'd like to build something. Oh, here's a need. I guess I'll focus on that. Right. And obviously these are makers that are in these roles.
Right.
Right. They're brought in to make things, and then they get to make other things in their spare time. This is not a managerial task.
Right.
But recognition must have come in somewhere for them to continue it. And then obviously there was more recognition when they decided to productize it. So if you imagine yourself in that position, what's that kind of stuff look like?
Well, I think that the point about it being culture, and you have to hire people who are innovative. You're going to get challenging character types. You're going to get a lot of intellect. There's going to be a certain amount of awkwardness, right? Some social skills might be lacking, but otherwise, you're going to have brilliant people who have some amount of independence and are willing to sacrifice 80% to get the 20% freedom, backed by the support culturally, financially, to pursue and contribute and ultimately gain some recognition and do some good in the universe, right?
Right.
There's a big degree of altruism there. So I think that is the culture that indeed Google produces, right? There's a humble honesty to what they do. There's a higher degree of empowerment and psychological safety that they provide. That they're not just early adopters from an innovation standpoint, but they were one of the first large cultures to adopt the resilience builder assessment.
Got it.
And they realized like a 25% reduction in turnover.
Wow.
Even though, what did their CEO say recently? Oh, the moat around our castle is quickly disappearing. We're going to have to revise our business model, right?
Right.
AI is taking away organic search. So we're going to have to figure it out. So even in the midst of the castle crumbling, they still have retention, they still have engagement, people are still inventing, right? So there's honesty and safety there. They innovate internally, they also adopt externally new and emerging things faster than their competitors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a demonstration of that psychological safety net.
Right.
Right. Because clearly there's a bring your ideas thing from, very early on.
Right.
That's continuing today, that they recognize is quite likely a make or break for them if they're still going to be here in the next 5 or 10 years.
And they fully empower their frontline lower level leaders with a budget to spend on their team member development according to their needs and what they see in the market. So they're empowered to run their business like a business.
Right.
So not so much central kind of command oligarchy as you would think there would be.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The boiler room is responsible for the boiler room holistically.
Right.
Yeah.
So
recognition's part of it.
Yeah. So if we're not Google, how do we build this culture?
Oh.
If our people don't have 20% time because we're stretched thin, how do we build this in? Right? What's the low labor, the basics, the bare minimum, you're cash strapped, and the $5 seems like too much?
Well, the easiest thing to do is actually the free things. Like write yourself a schedule, and at least one time a week, try and pay everyone on your team a compliment based on the work they've done. Right? Even if they're not overall doing great work. Right? You could still say, oh, that report had 3 mistakes in it. Right? But what's the awesome thing? I really appreciate you getting it to me on time. I know that was a lot of lift and you worked your butt off. So thanks for getting it there on time. Right? That's incredible.
Right.
Right? You deliver that wholeheartedly, tune it up and make it an A+ for next time. Right? That's a slight improvement. So you can get there, and that doesn't cost anything. It just takes your own mindset and awareness, not being backhanded about it, right? Like be a good leader. Put it in your calendar if you need to. Have a checklist if you need to, until it becomes a muscle that you're used to exercising. Like find a way to tell somebody they did a good job at least once a week.
Right.
I did it when I was leading talent development teams. I tried to make it at least 3 times a week.
Got it. Now, when you were doing that, did it happen naturally with others, or was it policy or training?
When you do it, well, it's both things.
Okay.
You have to both give the recognition and create the psychological safety around dissent. And when people see you role model that as a leader, eventually that becomes the culture below you, and they will start doing it also. Right? When everyone feels secure in their position and their ability to challenge and recognize each other, that much safety begets more of that safety.
Right. And then it's a self-fulfilling, it spirals up versus down. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that you would implement? Right? Like I'm talked about some big things. We had some great real life examples, but again, practical and implementable. Like what else can be done?
Well, I think recognition is more complicated than we've been talking about it, right? Some people are verbal. For some people, who it comes from matters.
Right.
Some people are spotlight people. Some people are trophy people. Some people are money people.
Right.
Right. So it depends, knowing their preferred recognition style. Indeed, that's one of the questions that I ask when I'm onboarding a new team member. How do you like to be recognized? And detail that out for me, right? Tangibly, what is it like contextually? Who's in the room, right? Is it just you and me in my office, or do I need to put you on stage in front of the CEO?
Right.
Right.
And from an automation perspective, that's still kind of form fillable.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's 5 tick boxes and it's like, you want a shout out or a coffee card?
That's right.
So it is implementable, right? Not only, as you said, in your actual onboarding script, but
right.
If you give people A, the options, and B, the opportunity to change their mind, it can be done. I guess when we're talking about parsing it that way, do you think it's relevant in terms of checking in on reviews and things like that? Like, how do you like the type of recognition you're getting? Is there a different type of recognition you'd like? And letting people change their minds, because one of the things I was taught is that it's one of the first ways of proving you have one is changing your mind. But secondly, the idea that as people grow and develop inside your organization, something you talk about a lot, right? How they want to be recognized may shift. So, yeah, is there a way that you would kind of implement that or think about it at least?
Well, I generally have an ongoing engagement conversation with team members that's different than the performance conversation with them.
Right.
Right. And by different, I mean wholly time separate. It's a different meeting.
Yeah.
Right. How are you doing on your projects, performance, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, deliverables. That's one meeting. How is it going at blankety blank company? What are you getting from me that's super valuable? What are you not getting that you need? Right? How is recognition working for you? How are people treating you? Do you feel safe here? Right? Am I supporting you enough in meetings? Are you getting the exposure you want, the career development you want? Right? It's got to be a question about them, their safety, and what you're doing for them. And if you have that rich conversation with them, I'd be willing to bet that most of our listeners have never had that conversation with one of their leaders.
Right.
Right? That's how rare it is. So more leaders should be having that conversation separate from the performance conversation at least 6 times a year. It's not hard. It's 30 minutes. But it does boatloads for engagement. That kind of alignment of your recognition and overall leadership approach to your team members' needs. Right? Just asking the question gets you a delta.
Right.
Right. So that is recognition of them as a person to begin with. So the most basic recognition is that of a human being as a human being.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And just because I have this curiosity rolling around in the back of my mind, in the company where it was the $5 thing, what's the average price point in the vending machine at that time?
Oh, probably about $1.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about right.
Yeah. So that rolls out to, item a week kind of a thing in terms of value.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's where I am with cookies personally. Like, I don't buy them. I don't keep them in the house because I know my relationship with them. So once a week I go and get them.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like, even in rewarding yourself, it's one of those little meaningful moments, right? Because it's the time that you make for the thing that matters more than the actual item itself. And I think that's the biggest piece about the recognition that you're kind of circling around is, it doesn't take a lot of time, but the time that it takes feels quite significant. There's like a 10x ROI on like the 2 minutes that it can take to be like, hey, this was great. Thank you so much.
Right. Yeah. It's more like a 25x ROI at the end of the day.
There we go. Yeah. So incredible value for, developing that habit, like you said, like 3 times a week, right? Recognizing something. And yeah, expressing that, noticing it, giving that little bit of gratitude, right? None of it takes very long, but it obviously makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yep.
Perfect. Anything else that we want people to think about or leave with or know that they can implement?
Well, I think in the greater trend that we see happening, turnover, lack of engagement, performance, this is probably one of those key things that's really transformative and missing, right? It's not about the cookies in the break room. It's about the behavior of your leaders. And it's about them being psychologically safe and rich with recognition in a constructive developmental way that will make you a company of the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely brilliant. Perfect. Well, with that, then thank you so much for this. I know a couple of things I'm going to start doing immediately. We have 14 meetings a week, so that 3-week rule is a no-brainer. It's done. And yeah, most of all, I'm really interested to hear what other people have to say about this and how they're going to implement just some of the simple things that, again, can have compounded results.
That's right.
Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.